Maybe you lead a team and you already know that a diverse team that values its diversity outperforms both a homogeneous team and a diverse team that does not value its diversity. Or maybe you're just watching what's going on and you want to know what you can do to make a difference right now to make things better. Either way, I'm going to leave you with 3 tips by the end of this video to expand your capability to be inclusive, to be an excellent leader, an inclusive leader. For the best strategies to take your career to the next level, subscribe to my channel and hit the bell so you can be notified whenever I post new content. I'm Christina Dellisanti-Miller of Full Potential Realized, and I'm a career transition coach. And in my corporate career, I led diversity and inclusion efforts for 4 different lines of business over a 10-year period. So today I'm talking out of that experience, and I'm going to share a little bit about my aha moments trying to be an inclusive leader. Before we jump into the 3 tips, I'm curious, what have been your greatest challenges in becoming a more inclusive leader? And what have you learned that's helped you along that journey? Please post in the comments, because I think the more we share, the better we benefit our whole community. And thank you for your candor in this one. First strategy is to choose to be a more inclusive leader, to choose to be an inclusive leader. And that sounds simple, and it's simple, but it's not easy. I want to share a story about when I got that I wasn't choosing really to be inclusive. And I was in school, I was already the head of diversity, and we had to do this exercise, which was a modification of the BAFA exercise, which is one that they use in the Navy to help get sailors ready to go to different countries and to be culturally aware and culturally responsive. So they broke us into 3 groups, and each group got a different color piece of paper. We had fuchsia, somebody else had green, somebody else had orange. And each of the groups learned their particular cultural norms for their group that they were going to belong to. So one group was close talkers, and they had very close distance and very quiet, and another group was loud with lots of gestures. And so the 3 groups had to learn to follow the norms of their particular group and then go and interview other people, and you had to collect 5 different interviews of people in the room. So I went to graduate school at night, so I had had a long day, I had a long schlep into the city, and I was tired, and I was like, oh no. So it's hard, to talk to people with the different norms, and I was like, no. So I just said, all right, I'm going to go talk to people with a pink sheet, because I had a pink sheet, and I was like, I'm going to make this simple. And I went and I interviewed 5 people who had the same exact sheet as me, and I sat down. And I had to write a paper, and it had to be 8 pages, and I had 6 pages worth of stuff, and then I didn't have anything to say. And I still didn't realize what I had done, and I was just stuck. And I remember I was writing the rest of the paper in a cafe, and I sat there, and I was like, ah! When I realized, I was like, I'm responsible for inclusion. I'm responsible for diversity, but I can't bother to go and make the extra effort to go and talk to somebody with a green sheet or an orange sheet. And I was like, wow, that's the power of experiential learning, because when you see how you actually behave versus how you think you would behave, it's like, So making the choice, because it's not always easy, and it requires the effort to care, to make that extra effort to bridge differences. So that's my first tip. These are really basic, fundamental things, but I think at the heart of the matter, this is really what it is. It's simple, but it's not easy, but this is what it takes. And the idea of a team that is inclusive and diverse is going to outperform a homogeneous team or a diverse team that doesn't value its inclusion. That applies for our country too. So if we don't want somebody to come and eat our lunch, here's a way that we can make small, subtle differences that mean the world to our well-being as a team, as a community, and as a nation. Second tip is to be curious and listen to other stories. And my aha in this space was earlier in my career when I had my first African American manager. And she was a woman from the South. I hadn't had that many people in my life at that point who I understood a lot about African American culture. And it occurred to me to think about her experience like my experience as a first generation American with a mom from another country, from Italy. And so I asked her questions and I was open and I compared my experience and my culture and looked to learn about her culture. Even though we're both American, we have different backgrounds and we have different norms and things that we think is respectful or important or polite. So I got to know and value her perspective by thinking about it that way. And that made all the difference to free me up to be able to ask thoughtful questions. And sometimes I messed up and it was uncomfortable, and sometimes I still cringe, but I went into that space. And I think I used to say this to my diversity council members: if you don't bump into each other once in a while and have that uncomfortable moment, you're not getting close enough. So listening from a perspective of curiosity and how can I value another's culture and learn about it through your relationships, through their stories. But also looking at movies. I mean, there's so many movies and TV shows that really help uncover what people's experiences are that are entertaining, but they also help you understand where others are coming from, different from your own background. Hugely valuable resource. One time early in my diversity career, one of my colleagues, a more advanced diversity practitioner, said, okay, we're going to the movies and we're going to see this movie about this lesbian couple, which I had never had any of that background or experience before. And I was like, people are going to think we're a couple. And she was like, yeah, so what? And I was like, okay. But I felt like I wasn't welcome in that space and I didn't belong in that space. And I think part of this mindset and choosing to be inclusive is taking on the mindset that we all belong in each other's spaces. Yeah. Third strategy is to increase your capability, increase your capacity to be compassionate. And one of my coaches always says, compassion is the ability to sit with another's pain and just be with them and be present. And that's one of the hardest things for me, and I'm still working on it. One time this really came into play, and this relates back to listening to other people's stories. There was a time when a young man got shot on his stoop. I want to think it was Amadou Diallo. And he was like pulling out his wallet in front of his house, trying to get in his front door, and cops shot him to death. And I came to work the next day, and one of my colleagues, who's an African-American woman, said, that could have been my son, which really grabbed me because I always think about things like that, or I had thinking about things like that happening to people somewhere far away from me. And this was the first time that it brought it right here. And, you know, in that moment, you just want to say like, no, that would never happen, or that could never happen. But the thing is to be with that person's pain and to just acknowledge, yeah. And I don't know what I said at that moment. I remember the feeling. I hope I shut up and just listened and was present. And I know that probably every part of me wanted to run away emotionally. But that's a practice that continues, of being compassionate and being with another's pain and with love and honoring that person. Those are my 3 tips. Being an inclusive leader is a bigger part of leadership. It's an important part, a foundational part, but there's a lot more to it. If you want to learn more about developing your leadership capability, I have a free cheat sheet around the 7 signposts of high potential leaders that you can use to drill down and decide where you want to build your leadership, with resources about how to go about doing that. You can find that at fullpotentialrealized.com/leader. Check out these next videos on taking your career to the next level. And please like this video, give it a comment, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Thanks, I look forward to seeing you next time.